Hello and welcome. We are live today with Ghassan Hasbani. He's Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon and the Minister for Public Health. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. He is not a politician. And we're going to dig into this a little bit. In many ways, at least for me and many people, he's a fresh voice, fresh face in the region, definitely in the public life in the region. And so we have a chance today to dig into issues and opportunities in the region and get a fresh perspective. And he's promised to be frank. That's fair?
That's fair.
Okay, so you know how this works. Please post comments in the feed and he will respond to any comments or questions and we get right to it. So, what's it like being in public life?
Well, it's quite interesting. You get to meet more people than usual.
Yes.
Well, I was in fairly senior positions before in the private sector, but to be actually in the public sector, demand increases significantly on your time from various people, and you need to be much more engaged with smaller matters because they're very big matters for individuals. While they tend to be, or they may look at first that they are small in the scheme of things, while you're dealing with, huge amounts of requests and issues at the same time, but each one of them is equally important. So you need to deal with more individual issues as well. And that's the difference between being, a kind of private executive or a public figure dealing with public issues.
Thank you. It's a very thoughtful answer. If I can ask you though, do you get comparisons to this wave where we see, if you like, non-politicians assuming public office? Do you get comparisons? I don't want to name any names, but I think you know what I'm thinking about. But do you get comparisons to some of the other current leaders in the world? Do you get these comparisons, and would you say it's fair?
Well, no, actually, no, I don't get these comparisons at all. Usually, most of the comments I receive are from people who get surprised with the approach I take to public office. It's very systematic, logical, and structured, based on my kind of background. So these are the comments I'm getting. I haven't been compared to anyone yet.
Okay.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know.
All right, so let's get to the thick of it. And we're live, so if you know anybody who cares about Lebanon, anybody who wants a fresh voice about the MENA region, please share this feed and let's get some more love on the feed. Now, on the region, what would you say are some of the top challenges facing the Middle East and North Africa region?
Well, right now, no doubt there are many challenges, historical and current. But if we look at the current challenges, we have a large number of youth emerging in this region. This is a region that's still growing. It has a big youth element in its population. They need employment, they need further education, they need economic growth to sustain their future. They need health coverage, they need housing. All these are kind of basic societal issues. You add on top of that all the crises that are taking place in this region, particularly the Syrian crisis. There's a crisis in Iraq as well, in Yemen, back in the Gulf. But if we look at the Middle East and North Africa, it's characterized by all of these challenges. Today, the crises in the Middle East are bringing a new set of challenges at a colossal level. Unprecedented in kind of recent history since the Second World War, probably in this part of the world, with the refugee crisis that resulted from the Syrian war, a very unfortunate situation in Syria. Places like Jordan and Lebanon have suffered the most as host communities of refugees and displaced people. In Lebanon, for example, we have 40% of the population of the country made up of displaced people from Syria and other places in the region due to conflict. Wow. And this is like the equivalent of having almost 100 million people landing in the United States in the space of 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
So that's the kind of scale we're talking about. It's a mammoth challenge for all of us at all levels, at infrastructure level, at social level, at humanitarian level, health care level, all of these, education, etc. So that's the kind of challenges we're dealing with in Lebanon. We're also dealing with these challenges at the regional level, but they can also be considered to be as global challenges as well.
Okay, I mean, listening to you, I definitely got, so you mentioned youth, of course, and refugees. On this refugee point, I definitely got the regional challenge. I definitely got it's a local, national challenge. But you just said it's a global challenge. How do you make that argument?
Well, it's simple. Those are people who left their country, came to Lebanon. With time, they may end up in other places as well, moving forward. And this could become a global issue. We're already facing challenges, the world is facing challenges in Europe, for example. These refugees are also filtering into Europe, not just in Lebanon, but they're going all the way to Europe. So the displacement and the Syria crisis has become definitely one of the most complex and prominent global crises. And when we talk about scales like that, the impact on the host communities cannot be fully supported by the host community itself. Lebanon had actually, this crisis had costed Lebanon so far about $20 billion out of Lebanese taxpayer money and treasury funds. We're looking to the global community to support. The global community is supporting on a humanitarian level. They're now starting to support with the World Bank on a developmental level to develop the infrastructure of Lebanon to help sustain and serve the additional population that resides in the country and maintain that infrastructure for the Lebanese in the long run once the Syrian crisis is resolved. But what we've had so far has been quite limited. We need more of that. We need more coherence in the global cooperation and approach to this crisis. And we do need, for sure, a global engagement to solve the root causes of that crisis so that refugees can go back safely to their home.
Okay, so it's not something one country can do alone?
No, it's impossible.
Okay, not even one region, because I guess Europe is also affected.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a global problem.
Okay, now if I may, I mean, this sounds like a difficult time to take on this job. So what exactly attracted you to this job?
Well, I've always been attracted to challenges, but this job in particular, it came as a surprise. I was engaged in various activities on the on the analysis side. We were engaged in a think tank that was actually developing policies for Lebanon. I lived most of my life outside Lebanon. I was an international executive, but I decided to come back to Lebanon to try to help develop a structure, try to push some policies, try to modernize policy making in Lebanon, as I've done it in different places in the world. I tried to achieve it in my own country, to give back a bit to my country. This particular job itself kind of landed on me as a result of this kind of work. So from civil society, I got drawn into this public office, which, given my background, I feel quite comfortable in structuring the work I'm doing, and at the same time being able to contribute to building institutions and institutionalizing some of the work that the government should be doing and has been doing in order to create some sustainability for the future as well. And healthcare was a good portfolio because it puts me in touch directly with the people. It gives a direct impact, and policies in healthcare have a great impact on society, no doubt. Being Deputy Prime Minister gives me also the opportunity to engage in various key issues that the government is facing or trying to solve that can be sometimes across multiple sectors and ministries.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like fine, the passion to change something. Now, but you said this fell in. I guess the opportunity sought you out. You didn't go knocking on the door for this opportunity. It came to you.
Yes.
And so for young people out there, or people who are not in public office, why did this opportunity come to you? Like, what attracted them to you?
I guess I was in the right place at the right time, but I believe the party that nominated me, the Lebanese Forces Party, they led by Dr. Samir Jaja, their vision of rebuilding the institutions of Lebanon after a long civil war that was followed by a good period of growth and prosperity. Then there was a relapse, not into a war, but into multiple internal and regional crises. And now we're looking forward, and they were looking forward to rebuild the trust in the system, to re-establish the institutions, and to institutionalize government work in order to create this positive change.
Okay.
They were probably looking for a youthful face, somebody with the right credibility, right skills, and right commitment, level of commitment.
Okay.
A professional, if you like, non-traditional politician, but more of a policy maker.
Okay.
And my profile fit that description, and I was
Okay.
quite close working with them within the party, quite active within the party, and that led to a decision to
Okay.
nominate me to this post.
All right. So sounds like a double coincidence there. So they wanted someone just like you at a time when you wanted to do a work just like that.
Absolutely. There's a complete match and complete coherence and complete overlap of objectives
Okay.
on the personal level as well as the political level of the party.
Okay. Now, I think it's fair to say that in your role, you manage things that touch more than your country. I think we already touched on some of those things. So as you look at the landscape in this region, and I don't know, I guess, do you see positive? Do you see negative? Give us the view from, from your eyes.
Yeah. Look, from a regional perspective, there are very positive elements, although we're facing tough times today. We're facing really difficult situations across the region. The youth element I mentioned earlier, while it's a, if you like, political, socio-economic challenge, at the same time it's our largest opportunity and largest asset in the region. Creativity, entrepreneurship, new thinking, fresh ideas are coming out of the region every day. And I'm very optimistic that once we go through this crisis, and the next 4 to 5 years probably, we'll start seeing some positive change. I've met some young people from Lebanon who are participating here today from the Global Shapers
Oh, fantastic.
group.
Thank
And
you for the plug.
I was so proud to meet them. They
Okay.
were telling me about their projects, their activities, and we had a good talk about the future of the region, their future in the region. So having done that, I'm quite confident that this is also a positive seed that will certainly grow into a fantastic tree in the next few years. Entrepreneurship, enthusiasm, and creativity. These are the three elements that we can count on in this region. What we have to do as policymakers is to create the right frameworks, legislative as well as regulatory frameworks, for them to thrive, to attract investments, to be able to grow their ideas and use the capacity of the regional markets to be able to create that kind of change. I can certainly see a lot of those people as well, those individuals, in government one day. I'm trying to be also a good example for them, that, you know, an executive, a consultant, an entrepreneur who can actually make it into government and be a good policy maker rather than a simply traditional politician stuck into small politics.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to come back to more tips from you before we close, more tips for young people. But for those people who look to you with hope, what are some of the changes that they can hope for? I don't want to say expect or count on, so I let it loose.
Absolutely.
But that they can hope for. I don't want to put you in trouble either.
No, sure.
But
no, I never make promises that I cannot fulfill.
But just give us some hope. So what can some people hope for? Because
Sure.
they try traditional politicians,
Yeah.
and they think, all right, this guy's from the outside.
Yeah.
What are a few, maybe 2 or 3 things that they can hope will change?
One thing is to re-establish trust in the system, trust in governance. That governments are about governance, they're not about politics all the time.
Yeah.
And one thing we're working on to re-establish certain systems, and from the healthcare perspective, of course, at least I can say that, is to put in place healthcare solutions that can last for a long time. They can stand the test of time.
Okay.
As this young generation grows into older age and needs more healthcare coverage
Yes.
and more support, they need to have a system that's ready for them. and we're building that from now. So it's not about me just addressing current issues,
Okay.
looking at emergency services, intensive care capacity in Lebanon, widening the coverage of healthcare today. We're doing that.
So these are promises you're making?
I'm actually doing this.
Okay.
We've already done that. It's not
Okay.
promises.
Okay,
So
good.
these are actions that we've taken in the last 4 to 5 months, and there's some more in the next few months.
So more
to achieve.
emergency services? What else?
Well, better emergency, more organized emergency services.
Okay.
Using technology as applications, for example, for the emergency service in Lebanon.
Yes.
Now, we had a challenge with the extra people in the country,
Yes.
that some hospitals get completely blocked on emergency and intensive care. So
Yes.
if you go to a hospital that doesn't have space, you may lose the opportunity to go to get the treatment on time,
Okay.
while other hospitals may have space
Capacity,
for you,
yes.
capacity. So we introduced an application now that we're launching in a couple of weeks that
good.
helps people find the nearest hospital with capacity and go
Okay.
to it in the shortest possible route.
So using technology.
So
then.
technology, we're introducing technology into healthcare, and we've done that. We're introducing new coverage systems for the long term that will
Okay.
cover a larger number of citizens. And we're working on cost optimization so we can cover more people with less budget.
Okay.
All of this is being done, and I think for the youth situation, most of them don't use healthcare that much because they're healthy.
Yeah.
However, with older age, it becomes much more important, and that's
Yes.
what we are planning for them, not just for their today, but also for their future.
Thank you. Now that's real concrete. The first thing you said, though, was trust. So on health, you've given us some concrete answers. Thank you. On trust,
Trust.
what either are you already doing or would you like to be doing to change things on trust?
Look, trust, our government, our current Council of Ministers, current government has put a motto for itself, its title at the manifest level, it's regaining trust.
Okay.
This is a problem that Lebanon has suffered from for quite a long time, the lack of trust between citizens and government or politicians in
Yes.
general. And the
Yes.
World Economic Forum has classified us towards the end of that scale on that particular indicator. So regaining trust, what we're doing now is ensuring that this government acts fully transparently,
Okay.
uses the existing systems and processes and procedures to make sure that all its decisions are within the legal and legislative framework that exists,
Yes.
using the existing systems of accountability,
Yes.
of transparency, particularly in public procurement, which is one of the biggest areas that can lose trust or
Yes.
make you lose trust, to make sure that this government does what it should be doing properly and transparently. This is the biggest, most important step that this
Okay.
government is trying to achieve.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I think the time has come now to ask for your tips for young people and also for people who are not in public office. What are some of your tips for how they can engage, either as citizens or how they can serve?
Sure. Well, I would go back to one very important example in history, a speech that was delivered by Theodore Roosevelt at the Sorbonne in France back in 1910, in April 1910.
Wow.
And that's quite remarkable. He said basically what, in the context of that speech about citizenship in a republic. A good citizen is not somebody who sits back and criticizes. So he's saying basically do not listen to the critics, especially those who sit there criticizing failures as well as successes without doing anything themselves. So the history will remember the man in the arena,
Yes.
the man who's marred with dust, with sweat, with blood and mud, the man who's actually doing the work. So my advice is actually go out there and do things. Do not criticize. Do not worry about those who criticize. Be ready to fail several times over, not just one time, because there's no success without failure.
Yes.
So failure, learning from failures, and moving on to create success. Whether in public office or in a private venture or as an entrepreneur or just as an individual citizen trying to be a good citizen, failure is a good recipe for future success.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you. We've been live with Ghassan Hasbani, Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon and the Minister of Public Health. Fresh face in the region with fresh ideas, and we will be following him.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.